Today we're going to take a look at the total patient accident recovery, their mental well-being, and better compensation. I think we can definitely all agree that every day there is more than one accident somewhere in the greater Orlando area, especially with all of the construction and craziness on I-4 and such. I kind of feel like you're almost on a roller coaster driving I-4 right now with all of that construction and craziness. But the topic today is going to highlight some of the different laws that mandate how auto accident injured patients are treated, and how some of those can have better access to health care for proper recovery options that may turn into better compensation for all of those involved in their care for that procedure. And many of the injured patients often receive proper treatment too late to be fully effective, because if you've ever been in a fender bender or this or that, you're like, oh, I'm okay, I don't feel that bad, but then the next day or two, then all of a sudden it may take a change for the worse in that regard. Dr. Owen Fraser is a surgeon who has accumulated a significant knowledge base in treating accident patients over the past 40 years. Dr. Fraser's long tenure in treating auto accident patients has allowed many medical professionals to accrue certain business practices in dealing with attorneys, insurance companies, and Medicare. Understanding the total health of the patient creates a claims flow process that is necessary to bring the patient's claim to a successful conclusion. And as you could well imagine, after 40 years of doing surgeries, he has accolades that would keep us here for another hour. So I will just cut to the chase and go around. Warm welcome to Dr. Fraser.
Good morning, and thank you very much for that nice introduction. I want to start by thanking Michelle, who is not able to be here today, for introducing me to Chuck and Moroff. I attended a few meetings, and I have to tell you that I'm thoroughly impressed with the goals and objectives of this organization. In the last 2 or 3 months, I've learned a lot of detail about my own profession and my specialty that never even crossed my mind before. So thank you, Chuck, for running a good, productive, helpful organization. I want the audience to imagine with me for a minute that you're in the doctor's office, and this is your primary care doctor, your internist, who's been treating you for 20 years for various complaints. And the doctor takes a brief history from you because he knows a lot about you. And then you're on the examining table, and he's getting ready to examine you when he suddenly discovers that you were in an auto accident, and that is why you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain. His immediate response is, sorry, I can't treat you. Get up, out. And you plead with him, doctor, you've been treating me for 20 years for the same thing. Why now? And he says, I know you have $10,000 set aside to pay me for this service. I don't want to have anything to do with it. I know that I will get paid if the bill is sent in properly within 35 days. No, I don't want to have anything to do with you. I know that you have a doctor, a lawyer who will protect you from all of this, and who, by the way, will protect me as well. I don't want to have anything to do with this. This sort of scenario plays out every day in medical practices. Think of how you would describe your physician. Think of your reaction to that physician in that sort of situation. It happens every day. This is a result of what I describe as confusion, credulity, and cant. Confusion because doctors have been made to be confused about the whole auto accident injury care system. They are incredulous, and they refuse to believe that they can do this. And they can't is because they believe that they are not supposed to use the training and knowledge and expertise that they have to the extent of their capabilities to take care of these patients. That is the reason after 40 years that we and others decided that medical injury care provider network is an absolute necessity to shield and enhance the practice of medicine. Because of this challenge, where injured patients fail to receive treatment at an early stage and thereby get the full effect of that treatment, and because historically doctors have avoided these treatment options based upon false assumptions, and based upon the fact that Florida state law in 2013 mandated that injured patients must be seen by a special provider who will certify that that patient needs continuing care in order to receive full benefit from their insurance. And as a result, MICPN, Medical Injury Care Provider Network, was started to provide dedicated, collaborative, state-of-the-art, evidence-based co-management to injured patients. We have accumulated an ever-growing number of benefits for the providers who treat these patients. These benefits include medical practice operational benefits, medical injury care provider generated benefits, affiliate generated benefits, and finally I want to tell you about our medical or just injury care assistant program, where staff becomes trained and familiar with all of the nuances related to injury care. So let us start with the medical practice. And in the medical practice, care delivery is paramount. Care delivery in a medical practice includes therapeutic interventions that only doctors can administer, prescribe, or recommend. There are medications also that only the MD, DO, or their assistant can order. And these can be distributed from the office, in the mail, by courier, or from the patient's pharmacy. Like medication, DME can be a profit center for the doctor, and where indicated, can be a useful tool for the patient in the recovery process. Injectables, these are utilized when necessary by those who feel comfortable doing this particular therapeutic approach. A number of other therapeutic interventions are at the disposal of the medical doctor. Transcutaneous, meaning approaches that go through the skin. Percutaneous, or approaches that are applied to the skin but require prescription. And regenerative therapy. And the name is self-explanatory, but I spend a minute here to tell you about a stem cell process, which is taking off like nobody's business. A stem cell is what we describe as a totipotential cell. In other words, it has the potential to become any cell in the body. It is the most primitive cell, and it can create healing in any environment in which it is injected. Tendon, ligament, meniscus, brain. Unfortunately, it doesn't help common sense and those other things. But physically, it's a wonderful, wonderful therapeutic intervention. Intra-articular interventions mean things that are placed inside the joint, either to result in healing of an inflammatory process, or to replace damaged tissue like cartilage or other surface areas. Medical therapeutic modalities that are prescribed, administered, and recommended only by physicians are at our disposal for medical injury care provider network members. and they benefit from this as an improvement in this particular profit center. We take serious consideration for those procedures that are billable and those that are not. But as physicians, we tend to treat patients whether there is compensation or not for the welfare of the patient, and we mean that. We have new innovative technology and therapeutic interventions that are available to our members, and there are state-of-the-art approaches for pain. And we are very proud of what is happening with our therapy for pain, including the new application of medical marijuana. I'm sure everybody recognizes the leaf. And all of the new companies have leaf in their names. But this is something that is dramatic in its results. And I'm sure many of you saw Sanjay Gupta's CNN presentation on it. And this convinced me even more that this is something that we need to emphasize. So in our practices, we are delving into the business of medical marijuana, CBD, and helping patients remarkably well. We are proud of our affiliation with Delisa and Patricia's Rock. As a result of her efforts, we are now affiliated through Patricia's Rock with the Central Florida Safety Council and with AAA for helping people to hit the road again without being nervous after they've been in an accident. Mental health care of injured patients in our practices are done by protocols and case management and care plans. We also have old standby in physical therapy, which results in renewed function and in the joints. Occupational therapy is something that is really, really significant in helping patients to return to normal daily living activity. And minimally invasive therapy is becoming more and more useful and beneficial for the patient. When I did my training, we used to say a small incision is equivalent to a small surgeon because you couldn't get your hand in it. Well, now we say a small incision is associated with a smart surgeon because patients with small incisions tend to get well more quickly, they tend to have less expense, they tend to have fewer days out of work, and the quality of life returns to normal much more quickly. So in our practices, we practice also surgical interventions. And these surgical interventions are mainly orthopedics and neurosurgery for injured patients, but the general surgeon is that guy who used to be called the captain of the ship, because we would take care of all aspects of healthcare, including abdomen, neck, chest. So there are other places that are injured in accidents apart from just the neck and back and the joints. I want to mention two special cases where the general surgeon, or in this case, the medical injury care consultant, has an important part to play. Consider, for example, the case of the fractured testis. Not many of you have heard of a fractured testis, but I have treated patients with fractured testes from injuries, blunt trauma. And the erectile dysfunction that is residual after that sort of treatment can also be treated without an incision, without pills, and without injections. Consider also the rare case of the hernia of the leg. You see, the muscles in the leg are covered by a thick, strong layer that we call a fascia. And just like in the abdomen, there can be a defect in that fascia. And if muscle protrudes through that defect, the patient is unable to walk or even run in their course of daily activities. This can be treated surgically with good results. We have other important consideration in the care delivery process, including consultation, where this should be done at the earliest possible stage in the treatment. And of course, co-management is at the hallmark of all of our therapeutic interventions, where a more senior doctor will mentor and co-manage patients with newer doctors. Rehabilitation helps a patient to return to normal daily living activities and more productive life. Work hardening is where we create a special program for returning the patient to their original employment or employment in a different field. We also have educational courses that are available to our doctors and for delivery to their patients, including our Healthy Eating and Lifestyle Club. Because you see, when patients get in an accident or get injured otherwise, they become sedentary in part, and this results in increased weight. And weight is something that we don't need even without an injury. But our Healthy Eating and Lifestyle Club takes care of this, and it takes care of it in a way whereby we get the body through coenzymes, through additives, through comprehensive care to fly above the fray, fly above the clouds without any turbulence, without any glitches, without any potholes. And this serves for a longer, more productive, smooth existence with the body homeostasis being in synchrony with the mind and the patient having a better quality of life. This is a picture of Ratan flying around the world in his little airplane, providing only fuel to the plane because it was set up so that, I know we have pilots in the room, but when you fly above the clouds, it tends to be much more smooth and enjoyable. This is what we do in our Healthy Eating and Lifestyle Club. Also, with the injury prevention program that we have modules with recording of use, monitoring, tracking, trending, reporting, and archiving of that use for the patient to use our specially developed concentration program to be more productive citizens, to have fewer errors in the workplace. And also, even in recreation. For example, in my case, I was able to make a hole-in-one on 7 different occasions when I started using this program. And every time I make a very good shot, it's because I use the program properly. Every time I make a bad shot, I blame my lack of concentration. Also, memory is one of the modules in this injury prevention program. And here we have, this is one of 12 different sections in our program. But in this particular program, memory, we have developed 36 specially designed vignettes for refreshing people's minds as they go along, so that having heard of a catastrophic event, they will remember if they're going around a curve, if they're going up a hill, if their lighting is poor, all of those sort of things. So one of the vignettes that we have is depicted here.
Hello, my name is Elise. This is MIC Video 6. Susie was driving a new expensive foreign car. There was an old pickup truck coming from the right. Susie hesitated and found herself in the middle of the road. The pickup truck ran the red light and crashed into the right-hand side of Susie's car. The pickup truck exploded. A fireball erupted. The fire engulfed both vehicles. When the dust settled, both vehicles were totaled. The driver of the car complained of neck and back pain. The driver of the truck complained of respiratory problems. Both drivers received treatment for their symptoms. Should either driver go to the hospital? Should the driver of the car receive prolonged treatment because her car was burnt? What are some reasons that the truck would burst into flames? Although this was a low-impact collision, could the driver of either vehicle suffer extensive injury? Who is best suited to treat these drivers? When should they seek medical advice? How could bodily injury be minimized?
So we use each of these vignettes as a learning experience. And we talked before about mental health, and here we consider the impact of injury on the mental well-being of the individual. And we also consider the effect of mental health as a pre-existing condition, and a new onset challenge is elucidated as it relates to permanent partial disability, alienating family and stress. And here I must mention that Delisa again has developed through her untiring efforts a relationship where we are the community partners for Orlando Regional Healthcare System as one of the select groups of hospitals around the country who are studying mental health care of injured patients in the emergency room. And thank you, Delisa, we're very proud of that. We also consider long-term care, the effective early diagnosis and treatment of patients, the severity of symptoms and the frequency of relapse, and other cost-saving measures. The next important thing in this particular paradigm is the enhancement of care. We enhance care by the development of order sets to make it easy for the doctor, learned or untrained, to participate and fully and easily administer care plans for the patient. So we have on the left 4 to 6 different injury categories, and on the top line we have 4 different levels of severity: mild, moderate, severe, and catastrophic. When the doctor hits that portion that is applicable in this grid, he is immediately exposed to the interdisciplinary approach to communication and to patient care. And scrolling along the side is a number of 176 medical-related disciplines that give input automatically. So if you do the math, 46 times 4 times 176, and assume that each discipline has only 10 orders or recommendations, you see that we have over 340,000 different combinations and permutations that are possible. The computer technology and our planning makes this easy for the patient and the doctor to survive. The next important thing we have is our templates. And with the templates, the doctor is able to generate history and physicals, progress notes, final reports, and so forth, by simply clicking on the right-hand side and generating the document as needed. Mechanism of injury is one of the main things we have in our learning center. And each office has a learning center where the patient is able to sit quietly and learn about the injury, the mechanism of injury, for example. And mechanism of injury is at best an imperfect science, because no seatbelt can be as dangerous as a poorly worn seatbelt. Also, I have to mention the case of a lady named Jay, who was involved in an auto accident in New York, where her driver asked her to come into the front seat. She insisted on staying in the back seat, and immediately her vehicle was hit by a speeding car that was being chased by the police. The car flipped over several times. Fortunately, she didn't have her seatbelt on, so she ended up on the floor of the car, but the roof of the car was on the seat, and she was able to break a window, get out of the car, and help the bystanders to scoop up body parts for the driver, decapitated, mangled, dead on the scene. And she has lived for 30 years without any direct effect of this accident, and she didn't have a seatbelt on. So the mechanism of injury is really an imperfect science. Other important aspects in the Learning Center that people get to learn about: wound healing, new therapeutic approaches for regenerative healing, advanced treatment options for pain relief, combating addiction. And addiction is one of the big areas where we're proud to say that we're making a dent. Of course, they also get documents on demand relating to coding, billing, and other such things. So our enhancements in care include courses, training, and technology. And this brings me to the role of new technology in our paradigm. Advanced web application, customized web engine designed for scalable navigation of all aspects of care delivery and reporting. We solve the jigsaw puzzle by getting all of the players on the same field to stretch the limits of technology and have them working together for the benefit of their own industry or profession: doctors, lawyers, hospital, patients, insurance companies, and other providers like those at Moroff. We have revenue manager as an important consideration. And in the case of the revenue manager, we consider the products and services that can be delivered from the office for the benefit of the practice and for creating a center of excellence and profitability. We also consider billing, and we have what we call a mega center. In the mega center, many doctors get together to take care of patients, and this cuts down on expenses, of course, and increase profitability. MICP and specialists are readily available to co-manage patients. Income management is important, and there's guidance in this direction. And joint purchasing results in reduction in expenditures. Our courseware is also not only billable, but helps the patient in terms of weight management, injury prevention with 20 modules, again with monitoring, tracking, trending, reporting, and archiving of use. Insurance companies should love this. And we have mechanism of injury, which is educational material for the benefit of the doctors, also billable service. Medications can be delivered to the patients from the doctor's office with increased income for the practice and at a lower cost than delivery from pharmacy and other means. The alliance-related services are common across-the-board services that practices benefit from. Financial considerations are such things as doctors investing in safe funds with high interest rate, and members of MIC get special treatment in this regard. It also includes claim submission, resubmission, adjustments, collection, and settlements. Branding is vitally important, and we do this by our policies and procedures, by our rules and regulations, by across-the-board patient satisfaction goals. We aim to get a good name for the practice in the community. We aim to have optimum communication. And in this regard, we develop a contract with the patient, and this is in writing and is signed by the doctor and the patient. This is where the patient undertakes to tell the truth about the accident, to reduce fraud and abuse and other malfeasance. And the doctor, on the other hand, undertakes to perform his craft with honesty, intellectual, and otherwise. Protective services go across the board, and we appreciate and understand insurance company rights and privileges, and we respect those. Some famous quotes from patients. One patient said, "This is the best thing for ED since VG." And there are many people who don't know what ED is. Well, I'll tell them it's erectile dysfunction. And VG here stands for Viagra. But our treatment without injection, without pills, are making people return to normal sexual function. Another patient said, "I felt the pain leaving my body," and they emphasized the leaving. And remarkable. "I walked without cane for the first time in 10 years. This is rewarding for a doctor to hear this. Another patient said, "I went to the movie and I actually watched it." That means she was just going before for being a friend or companion. Another one said, "I've taken no opioids in a month." And we're going to be hearing a lot more about this. And these responses encourage the doctor to practice his craft. Another one said, "I sleep through the night." Funny how small things can mean a lot. The next area of branding relates to the court system. Doctors don't need to be afraid of the court system. They get paid when they go to court. They get paid for waiting. Patients in their office don't get paid for waiting, but doctors get paid for waiting while they go to court, if they choose to go. And we have techniques for avoiding a court appearance. For every lawyer that the opposing side has, we have 10 lawyers to shield and protect the doctor. We have uniform standard of care by the policy and procedures and so forth. And we practice a multidisciplinary approach to patient care from beginning to end, from the instant of impact to the resolution of the case. And we do that by free interventions, by recommended interventions, and by prescribed interventions that only the doctor can prescribe, administer, or recommend, as in medical marijuana, for example. So we practice evidence-based medicine with emphasis on privacy, joint marketing, quality control, grievance management, utilization management, and optimization of third-party resources. We have professional interface with physical therapy, occupational therapy, allied fields, and of course the big one, mental health. And this picture depicts the genome. And many of you have heard of the term uncoupling of the human genome. This happened several years ago. But up to this time, most of the emphasis on work on the genome has been directed on physical or things that we can touch and feel, like breast cancer and other such things. But I maintain that in the near future, research is going to show that the genome is related to mental health. Why, for example, would someone commit murder for the slightest, stupidest reason? Why did Richard Dahmer do what he did? And we don't need to get into the gory details. On the other hand, someone would get in an accident like Jay did and not have any immediate mental health deficit as a result of that. There is something wrong with this, and I believe the genome is going to be the solution. Other professional interfaces include insurance companies, hospitals, chiropractors, and lawyers, and we have set aside special network groupings for taking care of these. There are some definitions that doctors need to know. For example, the insurance adjuster. They need to know that that is only the guy who is interested in reducing the payments that insurance companies make out. And they serve a purpose for the insurance company, and we need to learn how to deal with them. IME, better referred to as CME, is comprehensive medical examination to which the insurance company is entitled. This is one of their rights and privileges in the contract that we sign with them. EMC is that letter that has to be written by a medical professional certifying that the patient has an emergency medical condition requiring continuing care, thereby enabling the patient to get benefit for more than $2,500. The deposition is that dreaded word that doctors fear, but they don't need to be afraid of, because they never need to go to a deposition if they choose not to, and if they go to a deposition, they get paid for it. LOP refers to letter of protection, and that is how we ensure that doctors get compensated for the work that they do. There are numerous other definitions that are available for the doctor upon request. We have a number of medical IntraCare provider network benefits that make for convenience for the patient, including team building. Non-discoverable consultation here is a result of our study of 2,500 professionals, experts in their field, authors, editors, contributors. And we took a sampling of these professionals and experts, sent out a letter to them requesting that they serve remotely in a non-discoverable way as a consultant on the phone, and believe it or not, several of them answered. So we plan to write to more of these experts so that we'll have a series of experts available to talk to doctors remotely about state-of-the-art therapeutic interventions and other such things. We have our mental health program, of course, that we're very proud of. And active while you wait means that when patients are waiting, they have something to do. And co-management is the hallmark of our enterprise. The next grouping is the affiliate-generated benefit. And what better way to start than with more of. More of, and Chuck, and TWI, offering extensive services with discounts. Also, we have Debbie and her compliance-related services. Debbie, unfortunately, is not able to be here either. But she has numerous compliance-related services that help doctors to comply with mandated rules and regulations. They include annual wellness, a number of different interventions for testing and screening and allergy testing, molecular testing, business solutions. And of course, we're very proud of our affiliation with the Lincoln dealership. The Lincoln dealership had a car, a luxury vehicle at our golf tournament, our first golf tournament for promoting our enterprise. And this very nice SUV was available for a hole-in-one. And they've continued to cooperate with us in a big way, including discounts and significant VIP services. We have a book of vouchers where select MDs on an available basis can give a voucher to a patient or friend or relative for a free or discounted imaging, MRI, and other such vouchers. Also, we have discounts. For example, we have golf package where patients and doctors can get 4 golf lessons, 4 rounds of golf by themselves, 4 rounds of golf with the pro. This is a $600 value. They get it for $169, and this is also subsidized additionally. So that together with the concentration program means that we should have a bunch of good golfers coming out of this endeavor. We have social networking where doctors' offices communicate with doctors' offices, and we have financial consideration where they do get benefits from investments and so forth. Then we have machines that are available through our network partners for common use. so that everybody doesn't have to go out and buy the same machine. And of course, we have MIC-owned machines that are in Mega Center and in other facilities for common use, so that somebody doesn't have to go out and buy a $25,000 machine. They can get the benefit of that machine by simply being an associate of Medical Injury Care Provider Network. The next consideration is going to be very brief. It involves the financial benefits. And here we have a practice, a medical practice, and we have MIC. And they're both doing their own thing. The medical practice continues to do their business, uninterrupted by any MIC intervention. But where there are injured patients in that darker area, we have synergy. And that synergy results in co-management, joint purchasing, joint use of staff and technicians. This increases the revenue and also significantly increases the profit by decreasing expenditures. I'll talk briefly about our injury assistant program. Here we have a 12-week intensive course for new team members with cutting-edge, highly developed training for physicians, therapists, mental health, and healthcare delivery professionals. The format is simple. It involves interactivity, modular presentations, again with recording, monitoring, tracking, trending, and reporting. It has multimedia broadcasting and memory-assisted programming. There is monitoring of use and participation, and it can be done in group sessions. The goals are to promote optimization of patient care in a timely manner with cost savings, standard of care that is second to none, optimization of resources, enhanced employability, and the elimination of fraud and abuse. The content covers everything related to injury care, including mechanism of injury, insurance coverage, the rights and privileges, and the fine print in your insurance policy that many people really don't appreciate. Documentation, vitally important, therapeutic interventions, billing, technology, and legal considerations. The syllabus covers it all. Injury sets, the goals of therapy, billing, the role of technology in injury care, advanced interventions. In summary, MIC has come to the rescue based upon a need that is real for the care of a neglected group of patients. This need is a result of misinformation, confusion, credulity, and cant. MIC has created solutions that are real for the patient, doctor, insurance company, hospital, and all of the other players in the healthcare field looking at these injured patients. We have an extensive, exhausted list of rewards for those patients and for those doctors who participate through our system now and into the future. MIC, Medical Injury Care Provider, is shielding and enhancing the practice of medicine. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm sure there might be a few questions. I'd love to get them on the video, so if you have a question, let me know and I'll get the mic over to you so you can ask that. Any questions? I know it's pretty comprehensive.
Thank you, Dr. Fraser. That was amazingly comprehensive. I have a question. When a patient gets injured, it's with all the billboards all over town which say, you know, when you have an accident, call this number. That usually leads to a call center that clears into an attorney's office. How does the patient know to involve you in that process, or is that something that you work with the attorney on?
Well, we work with everybody. We work with the billboard people. We do AMC letters where necessary and where credible. But we also work with our own primary care doctors. And I'll tell you this one statistic. If a primary care doctor has 2,000 patients in the practice, there is almost a certainty that at least 10 patients are getting involved in an auto accident from that one practice every month. That is 120 auto accidents or other injuries every year. And if you think that there are $10,000 set aside for that particular occurrence, then that's $1.2 million. The doctors can participate, not take all of it or a significant part of it, but do it to the extent of their knowledge, training, experience, and inclination. So,
No wonder insurance rates are what they are for your auto insurance. Any other questions? Okay.
My name is Tiffany Brown. I work with Encompass Home Health Care, and we provide physical therapy and occupational therapy in the home setting. So how likely, I'll say, post-operatively for patients who may have had, an injury to their, fracture to the femur or what have you, are you to write an order for home health care services in the home, especially for those patients who might be out of work for 6 weeks or so and are truly considered homebound and maybe can't go to an outpatient therapy service? How likely would it be for you to write home health services for them?
I think that's a wonderful question, and it relates not only to rehabilitation and return to normal daily living and function in terms of range of motion and muscle strength building and quality of life, but it is also a good question from an economic standpoint. Treating the patient in their own home is something that we always try to do to avoid institutional types of situations with infection and exposure to other constraints.
Any other questions? Did you have one? Oh, I thought you did. Okay. Okay. Here you go, Bob.
I'm interested in the injury pain management side of things. If you put a patient on opiates for pain and it has a co-occurring underlying disorder, or now a newly created one as a result of that accident, how far do you go before you intervene so that they don't get addicted to the medicine?
Well, opioids have a good place in the treatment of acute pain, and it probably will always have a place in the surgical and medical armamentarium, but it is gradually and more and quickly now being replaced by medical marijuana. These quotes that I presented today are real, and we're seeing patients every day get off opioids. The problem with that is we don't want to mask symptoms with opioids and not treat the cause. So there will still be a place for identifying the cause or the source of the pain and use the opioids to a limited extent. So for example, after major surgery, we tend to treat the patients for 3 to 7 days with opioids, and as soon as possible, we try to get them off that. We haven't really hit the hospitals yet with medical marijuana, but it won't be long before that happens because the results are so astonishingly good.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to you later. I could get into some very deep stuff here that we'll keep here till 11 o'clock, but the main thing is the opiates are now non-opioid pain medications that can be used, and of course, if it does go too far, the buprenorphine, which is 20 times more powerful for pain than even morphine, become alternatives for certain people. And the medical marijuana, of course, the key is the minimization of the THC. And so with your cannabinoid oil, the purer it is, the more powerful it is. And there's absolutely no question that marijuana has medicinal benefits minus the THC component which can minimize that. And we're very excited about cannabinoid oil, no question about it.
Good. We have a clarification here on a previous question that related to how do patients avoid going to an attorney and so forth. One of the parts of our system relating to the use of new technology is where patients in the doctor's office who are affiliated with MIC will be able to take a picture of the scene of the accident, the debris field, the injuries, and so forth, and download those. When they download those, they automatically get notified in the doctor's office, and our case manager automatically gets notified so that we can help the patient with necessary services. For example, if the patient needs a ride home or if they need a help in some way, we provide that help for them.
We'll take one more question.
I had a question, Dr. Fraser. During your presentation, you mentioned evidence-based treatment modalities. How does that utilize in as far as auto accident patients and the insurance? How significant is evidence-based treatment for the patients in relation to the auto accident companies?
You had to ask the toughest question, but it is a good question. Evidence-based is the terminology that doctors use and live by. In other words, we don't just hear that something is happening and say, oh, we're going to start using it, and it becomes the standard of care in the armamentarium. No, they have to do studies. They have to provide samples. They have to get a population, and they have to do statistical analysis and come to a conclusion, and then it is written up in the journal or accepted as the standard of care. That becomes evidence-based.
Thank you so much. What a great presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it really sounds like it truly is the best for the patient, for the doctors, even for the lawyers, and everyone really involved, and especially with all the anti-fraud mechanisms you've got going in there as well.